morning show here on the Arise News channel. Joining us now is Okpe with stories trending around the world. Hello, Oji.
Good morning, Dr. Abati. How are you? That was a
Good.
great interview.
Thank you. Yeah.
Good morning.
Glad the AGF agreed to come on the show.
Responded to a lot of the issues.
Yes,
it's good.
yes.
Good morning.
You should do more of that. He's doing well. You should do more of that.
Do well. I like that. You both are matching in red today.
Yes.
Good.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good morning, Rufai. How are you?
Good morning, how are you? How's it going? Morning.
Doing very well.
Yeah.
Well, good morning to you viewers. We begin what's trending in Nigeria. President Muhammadu Buhari on Tuesday revealed his response to U.S. President Donald Trump's accusation of a Christian genocide in Nigeria. In his closing remarks at the end of a two-day ministerial performance review retreat at the Asa Rock Villa in Abuja, President Buhari said when Trump asked him why he was killing Christians, he felt emotional. The president told Trump that the problem between the herders and the farmers was not a religious issue, but a cultural problem that had been existing for decades. Back in 2018, the two presidents met in Washington to discuss issues ranging from the fight against insurgency, the economy, among others. Well, President Buhari has responded to the best of his ability with what's happening with Christians in Nigeria. I mean, I believe today the Punch is reporting that the president's comments is weak. They're saying that the conversation with Trump, there's a writer that says 105 Baptists were killed in 2020 by the Christian Association of Nigeria, is reporting that in the Trump newspapers today. And a lot of people are saying, well, really, maybe because it's been an old age or decade age tradition, doesn't mean that the herders are not killing Christians. Because some tweets, like I'll take one quick tweet that read from a user who wrote, the first reality is that Christians have actually been targeted by terrorists because the communities hit hardest have been Christian communities. The attackers have not minced words, proclaiming that they are out for Christians when slaughtering victims. I mean, Buhari also commended the first, Republic leadership, saying that, they tried. They were the first people that really tried, but other administrations have not really done a good job in, preventing this crisis.
I can imagine how pained the president was when he said, that was said to his face by President Donald Trump in 2018. However, his explanation did little or nothing to assuage the concerns of POTUS. And that's because, as you would recall, in the same year, the U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, in releasing the U.S. Commission report on international relations, did highlight and did recommend that Nigeria should be placed as a country of special concern on that watch list. And that was because, religious persecution had trended in 2018 with little or nothing done by the administration. So it's the misconception around the security crisis. I don't think it's just a concern, by the U.S. government or the international community. It's also a concern that was shared back here at home. For instance, the Christian Association of Nigeria and those who were directly affected by this crisis to say, the posture of the government, the administration at that time, did little or nothing to, really, prosecute those who were found culpable or even, find anyone culpable. And so there was a reign of impunity. Christians were being killed, churches were attacked, but Muslims were also being attacked. This was a crisis that was affecting everybody. But at that time, little or no explanation was given as to why the government was taking a stand, or it was mum about why this is not a religious crisis, but a security crisis indeed. I think that this crisis affected everybody, but not much was said.
Yeah, the president said it was a decade-old cultural issue, Dr. Vati.
Well, first, I thought I read somewhere that the president was speaking off script, of the cuff, because if you look at the main script, his closing remarks at that retreat, he had a lot of important things to say. One about the 2.3 trillion economic sustainability program, which he talked about, and the government's commitment to focus on this economic sustainability program as part of its attempt to address the challenges of COVID-19. he addressed the ministers directly when he talked about key performance indicators. And I think that that's something that is very important. You know, ministers are there to perform, not just to bear title and decorate space. And I'm surprised that, you know, almost 5-6 years down the line, the government is just beginning to talk about key performance indicators. Every minister should be held responsible in terms of the mandate that they have been given. That's another important point that he made. He talked about interagency, interministerial collaboration. And one of the major criticisms has been how in this government we've not seen enough in terms of collaboration. You have minister fighting director general, even over something as you know, basic as office space. So it was good to see the president striking the notes in that regard. And then he talked about what his administration has been able to do with regard to the key issues of economy, corruption, and security. He says he's doing his best. Well, you know, many Nigerians may not agree with them. And he also appealed to the elites of Nigeria to show greater understanding. Well, I don't know whether it's the middle class, the upper class, that the president should be asking for in terms of understanding. How about the ordinary people? Because the ordinary people, people like you and I, you know, who feel the brunt of the crisis that the country faces in different sectors. The brunt? Well, well, I do. Like everyone else, nobody is excluded from this. Why am I making this point? You know, what has now caught the headlines is what the president said off script. You know, and many leaders make this mistake. You know, when they stay off the script, they could make statements that will now become the headline and draw attention away from the issues. But of course, it varies from one leader to the other in terms of what they say. Now, let's now go to the issue that has now taken over the headlines. The president says the matter of, you know, farmer-header conflict and the abbreviation of religious freedom and all of that is not an ethnic thing, it's not a religious thing, it's a cultural thing. Well, we need to remind the president that religion is part of culture. Ethnicity is part of culture. Culture is the totality of the way people live their lives. It's about their worldview, what Germans call the Weltanschauung. Okay, so it's everything, it's embedded. And when he talks about, you know, grazing roots in the First Republic and all of that, and how that was observed, and how subsequent governments encroached on grazing roots. Now, the president overlooked the sensitive issue about ownership of land, because he was quoted as saying, you know, if you didn't observe the grazing routes, you now moved onto other people's land. In the First Republic, you were fined and all of that. That is not going to assuage the fears, the concerns of persons who talk about land ownership, which is a very sensitive issue, not just in Nigeria, but across Africa. Right. Right? In Zimbabwe, in Kenya, land is very sensitive. So that's one point. And then as for the attack on Christians, the Christian Association of Nigeria has already responded to say, look, this is not about culture. The Christian Association of Nigeria and some religious, some leaders from the Middle Belt, they even went as far as the British, the UK Parliament, the British Parliament, to say, look, there is a genocide, there is religious persecution in Nigeria. Yes. The matter has been taken up in the US Congress. Yes. So the president is not something the president should just wave aside and say it is culture. Yes, if it is culture, it is intellect. Ethnicity and religion are part of culture. What we would like to hear is what the administration plans to do or is doing to make sure that Christians and Muslims alike, and even non-Christians, non-Muslims, herbalists and whatever, you know, African traditional religionists, all feel safe inside Nigeria. And at the state, and the institutions will promote the religious, the freedom of religion, which is a constitutional right.
Good point. Rufai, your take on the story?
I mean, for me, I feel very about this because our constitution lays it bare. I think it's section 14 that talks about the safety and security of lives and property being the fundamental role of the government. And that has to be said. And when you ask questions and interrogate what the presidents have said, I'm excited that Donald Trump asked him this question.
Yes.
I'm really excited. And I'm excited that he felt emotional about it. And I believe that emotion should spur him to action. There's no how. We'll have cultural conflict everywhere in the world. There's no how. People will have friction because they have different forms of living. But what is most important is that people can live in peace and harmony. Look at how much has been lost in the North as regards investment and as regards the betterment and lives of the citizens of that area. You will know that it cannot be measured. There is nothing there is nothing as important as peace. Anybody can pay any price for peace. If it's to have a standing agreement or to have a standing partnership as regards just ensuring peace. I mean, the Germans, another part of Europe, understood this when they set up the Entente Cordiale after the wars in the late 1800s. So peace should be the watchword. And the government must be seen as being in the vanguard of peace. More should be done to ensure that people live in peace and harmony. I know we've made some moves as regards peace and integration in this country. The NYC was set up after the war. We should do more of that. In Singapore that we all celebrate today, Lee Kuan Yew had the same problem. You know what he did? When he started building government houses, low-cost houses for people to stay, he had a policy where he mixed people according to tribal groups. So the first flat of a certain tribal group will stay here, the second flat will stay here, the third flat will stay here. So you are forced to interact. Whatever it is, we must do to ensure we have peace in this country. People should be able to walk around and feel safe in Nigeria. The sad thing is people don't feel safe. I want to be able to take a car and drive to Borno and enjoy the Sahelian green nature of Borno and the undulating lands and the mountains. My dear, I can't do it now.
Good point, Rufai. We'll take another story. After 5 long months, the Nigerian police force has finally charged the Kogi State Commissioner for Water Resources, Abdulmumuni Danga, to court for assaulting and raping Elizabeth Oyeniyi over a Facebook post. The commissioner was charged on a 7-count charge, including rape, brutality, coercion, torture, falsifying documents, among others. He was charged alongside his success, Omadivi, an accomplice of the alleged crime. They are to be arraigned at the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory Judicial Division. Reacting to the charge, human rights lawyer Inibehe Efyong said the police are trying to sabotage the case by taking it to the Federal Capital Territory, where the court lacks jurisdiction over the case. Dr. Abati, I'll come to you with this story because obviously I don't know why the Nigerian police has taken this case to the FCT when the assault happened in Abuja, in Kogi State. I mean, if this is the case, as Inibehe Efyong is saying, that means the case is just going to water down. It's not going to fly.
Well, jurisdiction is a major part of the justice administration system. In the past, courts have declined the hearing of cases on the grounds of jurisdiction. I give Inibehe Efyong the benefit of the doubt. We need to double-check where exactly the offense was committed and whether, in fact, with regard to rape, you can bring up the issue of jurisdiction. Because if you look at it, the case is the state against, the commissioner in this particular matter. And you recall the earlier case of, what's that lady's name again? Busola Dakolo.
Yes.
The case was taken to court also in Abuja.
Yes.
But I have no doubt that Inibehe Efyong knows what he's saying and is trying to preempt a situation whereby the case will not fly on the grounds of jurisdiction. But of course, there are steps that can be taken by counsel to the affected parties to address that. That's the first leg of it. The second leg of it is, I think this is a triumph of activism.
Yes.
We also took up this story, I think, about a week ago when you brought it, when an NGO and some concerned persons were complaining that the investigation had gone on for too long and that the police was not taking action. So this is a clear case of the police headquarters listening to public opinion. There was a protest about an attempt to sweep the case under the carpet. So I think the Nigeria Police, the Inspector General of Police's office, they've shown good faith in this matter to say that they have nothing to hide. They were carrying out investigations, and now they've come up with, I think, a 7-count charge against the commissioner, and he will have his day in court. Beyond that, we cannot comment for that because it will be a sub judice. Yes. So let the court decide. But it's quite reassuring, and it will encourage other victims of rape
to speak up.
That if they speak up, they will be given the opportunity to have their say. But nobody should jump to any conclusions. The court should be allowed to do its work.
How excited were you, Adeswa, when you read this news?
Very excited, because, it broke my heart, to hear that 5 months after, something that happened in March, and we're in September, nothing had been done, despite the police intervening, the Kogi government making statements, NGOs stepping in. It was just a sigh of relief for me to say, someone is listening, actions are being taken. But it is the quality of action we'll now wait to see.
Yes. Rufai, kudos to you for bringing up Natasha Akpoti's information, where she said, that the Commissioner of Water Resources had, charged Elizabeth 100 million naira for defamation, correct? That happened.
I mean, we just pretty much, this story has been on for quite some time. So we just pretty much rehashed it and, just ensured that we saw things, properly and ensure that everybody has their day in court, pretty much. So I think most importantly, the brave one here is the girl that has been raped, and her life will never remain the same, and she needs to get her life back on track. I think she's the brave one here, going through the eye of the storm.
Yeah, I will say,
Not all of us.
Right. I'll say kudos to the Nigerian police for taking up this case. Well, let's head over to France now. The decision for a satirical magazine, Charlie Hebdo, to republish several cartoons depicting Prophet Muhammad that had prompted the 2015 terror attack at its Paris office has led widespread protests across the world. People from several countries, including France, Pakistan, and Iran, have taken to the streets to protest against the cartoons and any form of visual depiction of Prophet Muhammad, as it is forbidden in Islam and is considered blasphemous. Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, condemned the move in a statement released on Tuesday. He said, "The grave and unforgivable sin committed by the French magazine to insult the divine character of Prophet Muhammad once again laid bare the devilish hostility and grudge that Western political and cultural organizations hold against Islam and the Muslim community." Pakistan's foreign ministry also condemned the move in a tweet that reads, "Pakistan condemns in the strongest terms the decision by the French magazine Charlie Hebdo to republish deeply offensive caricature of the Holy Prophet Muhammad. Such a deliberate act to offend the sentiments of billions of Muslims cannot be justified as an exercise in press freedom or freedom of expression. Such actions undermine the global aspiration for peaceful coexistence as well as social and interfaith harmony." When I saw this story, I was quite confused because this same cartoon in 2015 led to the loss of lives. I believe it was about 10 or 12 of the staff that, 12 of the staff of people are reporting different, of their office. Terrorists came in there and they killed it. It borders down on the freedom of expression as well, because, I don't know where to take, because, the French community is saying, the magazine in its right can publish what they feel is, is a situation in the world, right? And, when we look at satire and cartoons, they usually are to make mockery of people, but the fact that it is a religious leader, and that the culture, it is blasphemous for you to even do that. I don't understand why they want to republish it. To their defense, they're saying that because the case has regained, I believe that they're charging those terrorists to court this week, I believe. And that's why they're republishing several cartoons. And they're saying if they are not going to do that, then they feel like they're defeated, correct?
Yes.
I don't...
blasphemy is not a crime in France. It's actually a right. And this magazine is domiciled in France. So you can imagine. They are unapologetic about what they do. They make mockery of everyone, institutions, religious leaders. In fact, as of 2011, when the office was bombed, because they did have a bombing situation, they had been sued 13 times by the Catholic organization globally, 13 times. I think for me, it looks as if Charlie Hebdo keeps taking the red flag, and throwing it in the face of the bull. But they insist that, there must be tolerance to sport and accept freedom of expression, freedom of opinion, which is what they stand for. I saw one particular case, one particular issue of their magazine where they drew a cartoon of Jesus Christ. And
that's all they do.
and they were talking about how, he's a child of sin, he was born out of wedlock, what he means, he was a bully as a leader. For me, it is about tolerance. I don't think that the actions of these terrorists, is enough to judge the billions of Muslims worldwide. As you would recall, after that horrendous attack that you referred to, a lot of people globally, were in solidarity with Charlie Hebdo to say, no, there has to be freedom of speech, freedom of opinion, and your ability to take it or drop it.
Yeah, I think for me, it's quite sensitive. And if there is loss of lives, I think that people should be held accountable. And Charlie Hebdo should try to minimize such casualties. That's my take on that story.
Well, what lessons can we learn from this? The first is how sensitive religion is in various parts of the world. People are very emotional about their beliefs. Every religion has certain sacred symbols. When you attack those sacred symbols, people get emotional. In this particular case, this was something that happened originally in 2015.
2015, yeah.
Why is it back now? Charlie Hebdo, a satirical magazine in France, decided to publish those original cartoons drawn by Corinne Ray, Coco, as she's known. She's now 38 years old, to mark the commencement of the trial over the killings that occurred on January 7, 2015 at the Paris offices of Charlie Hebdo, when two persons, Islamists, extreme Islamists, decided to attack the premises of Charlie Hebdo over the cartoons that had been published, which they said blasphemed and desecrated the person, the symbolism of the Prophet, peace be upon him. And they ended up killing 12 persons, including 2 columnists, copy editors, and even the editor, Charbonnier, popularly known as Chab. So the trial started on Tuesday, and now Charlie Hebdo decided to publish the same cartoons again, right? And they even went further to publish the controversial Danish 12-panel Danish newspaper cartoons, which showed the Prophet carrying a bomb with a line, Tusa Pusa, all that for this. And of course, I see it as provocative.
Reckless provocation.
Well, I won't use the word reckless. I think it's provocative. And that is what has now inspired this round of attacks. 12 people died in the office in 2015. 250 died across France. And then extreme Islamism was also triggered across France, leaving over 250 persons dead. So how do you weigh that? Freedom of expression against, that violence that is inspired. So as editorial judgment, I think that you can question the editors of, Charlie Hebdo, who are insisting that this is about what happened in history and the need to reproduce history. You reproduce history at the expense of the rights of others.
You have to weigh these things.
I will blame the journalists for expressing an opinion, or we're looking at those who are committing murder.
No, we're blaming the editor.
No, I'm saying editorial judgment. Sometimes you have to be careful.
Yes, but Charlie Hebdo is saying if we have to be careful about reporting, then we will not take any opinion, because everybody at some point has something that is emotional to them.
Has to do with people's lives.
I guess it's a debate.
I feel like it's Rufai, real quick, because we don't have much time on this segment.
I mean, when you look at this, it's quite very sad. I don't support what Charlie Hebdo is doing, but there's also that conversation about, you know, freedom, press freedom, you know, the right for people to be ridiculous to what you hold there. But if it will disturb the peace and progress of society, I think it's best we don't do it. Because everybody around the world rally around Charlie Hebdo. In fact, I remember carrying those placards, Je suis Charlie, in 2015, that would stand with them. We totally condemn the killings. But please, Muslim, Christian, liberal rivalries have gone way back in time. The city of Jerusalem was fought for between the Templars and the Baldwins and the likes. And this has gone way. Let's just keep off anything that will inflame religious sensitivity. That's just what I'm just going to beg Charlie Hebdo. Let's just keep off this.
Good point.
It's not the Muslim clerics that are saying those terrorists should go attack. I should say. Please.
Good point.
Those thoughts are doing their own on their own volition and their conviction. But let's just keep off on it. Let's make peace reign.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. We'll see you again
tomorrow.